You said back in there you were talking about the entertainers. That's interesting just
Uh-huh.
because I'm thinking about like how you make money. Is it similar to like they'd say like, "Oh, I'm putting on a play and you have to pay to come see it," kind of deal? Like
hmm
it's closed in a building somewhere versus like just a street performer that you leave money for?
Um, yeah, I mean, I would say that there's so day laborer, whether or not construction or otherwise, is, a very, very large number of people. There's a huge number of unemployed people, honestly, too, in Rome.
Now, how are they taken care of?
Well, if they're a citizen, they might be on the grain dole, this famous system of grain distribution put in place in the late Republic and maintained by the emperors, which allows about 200,000 people to receive a ration every month, enough to feed a small family, basically, during that time. You can't live just on the dole. It's not quite like modern welfare, but it does allow a lot of people who couldn't otherwise make ends meet. However, the poorest of the poor don't get on the dole. It's only people who are citizens. So recent migrants to Rome from the provinces aren't supported that way. And there's no safety net, as there will be even in Christian Rome. There's no churches giving out free food. So there's a lot of beggars in Rome, people under
Wow.
the bridges, a lot of homeless. And there are merchants of every description. A lot of them are freedmen, former slaves, who were trained up in that trade by their former masters and are now taking over it on their own right. So you might have contractors who manage these laborers in the construction projects, people who sell jewelry. There are booksellers, actually. People who sell
Whoa.
new and used books. It's kind of fun. So like some of Rome's poets talk about going to used bookstores.
But they didn't have mass printing back then, so it was just
Mhm.
personally written on.
No, but they did have slave-run workshops that could copy out these books in bulk, and so they're a master
Right on
copyist.
that full goddamn thing.
Yeah, right. And another John Grisham, and so that's pretty much what it was. And the guys who are trained can write out, dozens of lines in an hour, and produce very clean mechanical writing and churn it out.
Well, how long of books are we talking? Like 40 pages kind of deal
Well,
versus
well, well they're
the
all
standard 300 now?
Well, they're all scrolls. So when we say a book, we mean a scroll. And so
Mm.
any longer work of classical literature, like Thucydides or the Iliad, is divided into books. In the case of the Iliad, 24, in Thucydides, 8. And so it's one of these things where the average length of a book seems to be about 20 or 30 printed pages. It's about 20 or 30, about 10 or 20 feet when unrolled. But you read it, of course, kind of rolling with one hand, unrolling with the other. You kind of going through like this. And a longer work, like Homer, for example, might be on 12 large scrolls. And so, not as long as a modern book, but you can contain very, very long works on a scroll. You just have to kind of combine multiple scrolls.
You said back in there you were talking about the entertainers. That's interesting just
Uh-huh.
because I'm thinking about like how you make money. Is it similar to like they'd say like, "Oh, I'm putting on a play and you have to pay to come see it," kind of deal? Like
hmm
it's closed in a building somewhere versus like just a street performer that you leave money for?
Probably both.
Mm.
So there were definitely performances in theaters that were of respectable tragedies, Greek and Latin, that kind of thing you would pay at the door, pretty much. But there were also street performers, all kinds of buskers who would definitely be paid informally. They'd have like a kid who would be holding a cloth or something. You would throw your sestertius onto that, and that would be how you pay him.
You're what?
That's a Roman bronze coin, brass
Oh,
coin, a sesterce. You
it's
see
a
it
long
sometimes.
ass name for a coin.
It is.
Disturstius.
Sestertius, yeah, it's kind of awkward. It means like a certain fraction of
Oh.
the bronze chunks the Romans used to use as currency back in the early days. It's the aureus is the gold coin, the denarius is the silver one, and then the biggest of the bronze coins is the sestertius. Then you see like there's other smaller denominations.
When did the Roman money system start officially? Like the coins?
During the 3rd century BC.
Wow.
But it evolved pretty rapidly. The form we have that we're familiar with is also from Augustus, as in so much else. He kind of standardized it. And he kind of put the gold coin at the head of it. The heart of the currency is always the denarius, the silver coin. And that's the coin that gets debased when inflation happens in the 2nd and 3rd centuries.
We'll get there.
We'll get
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So originally it's almost entirely silver. By the end, it's like only a couple percent silver. It's pretty much like a penny now with a little silver wash over it.
Did they have like a mint where they would
They had
print this?
several mints. So in Rome itself was the main one. Later on, there were about a dozen scattered around the empire.
That's awesome.
And they actually, they think they found the mint, or part of the mint, in not far from the Colosseum recently. It's kind of fun.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, they issued these coins by the millions, and so the most widespread artifact that has the emperor's face on it is the Roman coin. It's propaganda as well as value.
What was was there an ability though to easily create forgeries of that though back then? Because like today, obviously they have all kinds of like watermarks and things. Like very hard to do that. But back then, I would imagine if you're,
Oh yeah,
I don't know, blacksmith or something, you could figure out a way. No.
there's a lot of counterfeiting, and the most prolific ones work in the mint itself. So the guys after hours will make fake coins sometimes.
Oh, Matt Cox would love this. That's smart fraud
They'll
right there.
they'll
Yeah.
use the dies, like worn out dies from the coins, and then bring them home. And the way that you make money on this is instead of doing a solid silver coin, you make a bronze core with a little silver wash on it, press the old dies on it, and pass it off as real currency. And so you've only used, let's say, a quarter of the silver you're supposed to use. And you've saved all the rest of the value of that silver to make other coins with the same metal. I actually have a collection of Roman coins, and
Of course you do.
of course I do. And one of these is a counterfeit, and it's called, they call them a foree. It's the industry term for it. And you can see there's a little hole in one side. You see the bronze core kind of dully gleaming through.
But like I feel like back then it's not like you have the printing press of making coins. Like wouldn't even the official ones technically have some mistakes sometimes?
Oh yeah, because all they're doing, they just have a die punch and a hammer.
Yeah.
And so
That's it.
and if it's off center, it's off center. People care about the weight of the metal. That's why they always hit those scales you see like in ancient dramas.
Yeah.
But they got pretty good at their jobs. The slaves who worked the mint, they were usually on center more or less. It's not like in modern coin collecting, like errors are valuable. Then it's kind of a pain in the ass. Like, oh, Athena's head is missing, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're a mint worker, you know how the dies work, you know how the coins are struck. You can make a forgery pretty easily if you have access to the metal.
So cool. How many? Like I just keep thinking of random questions because they created so much.
No,
of
it's fun.
civilization.
Yeah, well, that's great.
What time did I get your flight out of here today?
We have until like 8 or 8:30 or 9, I think.
All right, great.
Yeah,
That's
we have plenty
awesome.
of time.
Because like I said, I bring it back to religion. We got to talk about the late JC.
Of course
what
we do.
happened there,
Yes,
and
the late great.
how that changed the whole whole concept of the empire. We got to talk. We haven't talked about the architecture yet. We haven't talked about medicine in the empire, which you and I were talking about some of the Amon Hillman stuff earlier. So we will definitely address that. We haven't talked about the gladiators. We haven't talked Marcus Aurelius. We got a lot to get to. So
there's a lot.
Let's pause real quick. This is going to be the end of the first episode. We are going to be doing a second one right now that will come out after this. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please like the video and please share it with your friends. And we will see you for round 2 next episode up.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Before you leave, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. It's a huge help. And also, if you're over on Instagram, be sure to follow the show at Julian Dorey Podcast or also on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey. Both links are in the description below. Finally, if you'd like to catch up on our latest episodes, use the Julian Dorey Podcast playlist link in the description below. Thank you. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here